r/askreddit. What's something strange your body does that you know isn't quite right but also isn't quite serious enough to get checked out by a doctor? I get red marks on my body after I work out and sweat a lot, but they quickly disappear as soon as I cool down again. 100% normal until I work out again. It also feels itchy when the red marks are there, but the itch disappears with everything else eventually. Exercise-induced cholinergic urticaria. I get the same thing when I'm exposed to heat above standard room temperature for longer than a minute or two. Even during warm showers. Little itchy red bumps all over my arms and legs, part of my chest, and back. It's ridiculous and can actually get painful if I try to ignore it, like trying to go for a walk outside. I get visual snow. That shit is annoying, but I don't know if there's a way to fix it. I just googled what this is and didn't realize that it isn't a normal thing that everyone has. I have this really bad and it bothered me constantly. Like I'd think about it multiple times a day. A couple weeks ago I realized that I hadn't thought about it in years. It's still there, but I kind of stopped noticing it, if that makes sense. Was 15 years though of having a bad time with it. I think the lesson is worrying about it isn't going to help. I talked to tons of eye doctors about it and people said nothing was wrong with my eyes. Sometimes I can't swallow food or water. It's like my throat just randomly closes, and it isn't a food allergy either. I'm able to swallow if I quickly twist my neck to the side. It temporarily opens my throat. Doesn't happen often enough to warrant a doctor visit. Please see a doctor about this. Difficulty swallowing is a sign of some really unpleasant things coming down the pipe. At totally random times it feels like my heart keeps skipping a beat, and I feel short of breath. It goes on for a few hours usually and then stops. I get rubber band headaches sometimes when I focus on doing a certain task. Sometimes the muscles in my hand will tense up and I have to use my other hand to unfold it. I have a first issue too. It is so uncomfortable that I have been to the ER 3 times for it and seen 2 cardiologists. Lots and lots and lots of tests later we found out that my body is super sensitive to adrenaline. Does this happen for you when there's a situation that induces adrenaline? My knees, legs, and butt always vibrate. I don't know why. I might have a phone inside me. Lol, personal trainer here. It's probably just muscle spasms. Eat more bananas, drink more water, and get more sleep. Easier said than done, I know. A booty call perhaps? This happens to me sometimes. I'll look down and a spot on my thigh is just randomly wiggling. Freaks me the fuck out. Magnesium as well. Get the pills, they aren't expensive. Totally helps. The bags under my eyes get purple sometimes. I got a bit of a farmer's tan, but the parts of my skin that are exposed to the sun are like an olive color. Some days I look as pale as a dead man but feel perfectly fine. My right testicle randomly hurts. I started balding at 16. Sometimes it feels like my heart skips a beat, but that actually went away. I hear people arguing when I try to fall asleep. Look up exploding head syndrome. I hear odd noises when I fall asleep sometimes too. People yelling, often my name, or loud clapping or banging sounds. Always just for a second. I don't breathe right. You know how you barely breathe? Maybe for 0.2 seconds in and 0.2 seconds out, so it looks like you're not breathing? Aka, sort of like how you're taught to breathe in choir while singing? I breathe like that. I didn't think much of it, but I also have chronic medical migraines. I recently realized that if I inhale deeper, expanding my lungs fully, it now like how most people breathe, it hurts to stretch them and I get a little dizzy. But it also feels good. Like I just saved some brain cells dying from lack of oxygen, lol. Just like a sudden rush to my brain. This is serious. See a doctor. Hey man, go see a doctor. Lung stuff is no fucking joke. You may well be one coughing fit away from seriously hurting yourself. Sometimes I'll be walking and I suddenly just dissociate from my body and everything around me. It could either be triggered by my thoughts or just doing nothing at all. I think about how I'm next to nothing in the universe and feel like I'm jumping out of myself. Then my body just feels like it isn't mine. In that moment I try to stop it by looking down at my arms to realize that my body is mine, and to stop thinking about things like that. It takes a lot of distraction to end it. Happened a lot my senior year in high school. Happens on occasion now. And might have happened the other day. Lasts maybe 30 seconds 1 minute. I'm really hoping someone else has gone through something similar. Yes. This used to happen to me so much when I was younger. I would so completely dissociate from my body and myself to the point where I felt like even my name wasn't my actual name. It was so weird, but I remember learning about a term for this feeling in one of my psych classes. I don't think it's anything harmful, if anything it's kind of relieving. Just want to make sure everyone here knows to actually talk to a doctor before getting prescribed anything from a random stranger on the internet. Sometimes I feel a very acute short pain in my chest for like 1/10 of a sec. It feels like it's in between the ribs, like they pinched the meat. Happens rarely but been happening for years. Does it get worse when you breathe? That's what happens to me. I am blown away. I have experienced what I call boob cramps for as long as I can remember, but never knew it had a name. This is one that previously happened and is solved as far as I'm concerned. For a couple years, every time I ran my dishwasher, my eyes got really dry. That makes no sense, right? It was a minor annoyance, but too ridiculous to say out loud, even to a doctor. Years later, I got diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome. My immune system mistakenly attacks my tear ducts and my eyes get really dry. Scientists think it's kicked in by an exposure to a toxin, like mold, that sends your immune system haywire. My old apartment was full of black mold in the walls. Every time I ran my dishwasher it got in there and wet the mold and made it worse. I'm so glad to figure out I wasn't just imagining things, because I knew I wasn't. This is some Dr. House level mystery shit. Hold up, your dishwasher was getting into the walls and wetting the mold? And you knew you were living with black mold? Why didn't you fix the leak and get rid of the mold? I have one piece of hair on my arm that is white and grows super fast and can get way longer than I've ever seen an arm hair be before. I have one of those, and a few rare ones that pop up anywhere. The one on my arm is the all reliable, though. I've seen it mentioned on Reddit before, so do liberally sold this, and someone said it was because the DNA for the protein that makes dark pigment has a little mutation that makes it make the same protein as a hair. So, your body is making a double hair instead of a dark hair. A hair. I no longer feel so alone on my strange pains and aches. Oh no, this is very serious. I'm afraid this means you are between stage 5 and 6 in ligma. I'm very sorry. I get this sharp pain in my ass that lasts a few seconds and it hurts so much. It makes me stand still and not want to move because it'll just become even worse. LMAO. Doesn't happen too often though. Someone said in another comment this could be proctalgia fugax. I have moments for a few minutes once every couple of months where I have a huge memory lapse and nothing feels quite right. Mate, this is serious and you should go to a psychiatrist or a neurologist to check it out. Memory lapses are a huge red flag. Tell a neurologist. This is a symptom of some pretty serious stuff. I get this too. It's gotten to the point where I know the signs that it is about to happen. I used to do one of those really big all body stretches while standing in front of a mirror and for a moment or two not recognize the person looking back at me. Which of course was me. Felt like I was living in someone else's life. Inability to take a leak when in a public restroom or when I think people can hear me. Shy bladder. My hair grows unusually fast, only on my head. Pretty sure that's just a blessing. It's lupus. And by that I mean you're a werewolf. I mean I got this checked out but apparently I have a good tumor. How good are we talking? This thread made me feel like all bodies are weird and maybe I don't have a hidden tumor after all. Lol, thank you. Or maybe we all have hidden tumors. Lol, right? When I saw the title I went oh shit. I'm about to freak out for 30 minutes but then I went maybe I'm not dying. Tiny dots of blood when I wipe myself. Also difficulty not peeing a little at random times, especially walking or sitting a long while. Pretty sure any doctor would laugh this off. Muscle twitches. Wrist pain. Most of my joints crack for no reason. Might edit more here later. Found a reason to edit. What's with the downvotes? I know that asking tends to make it worse, but what did I say that's incorrect or unpopular? Actually, that could be serious. Please see a doctor. My asshole itches a lot. Try pooping before you shower, and wash your cake hole like someone is about to judge it in a clean cloaker competition. Don't be afraid to probe inside a little. If you still itch with that level of after poop decontamination, it is the booty worms. Go see a chemist. Sometimes when I sneeze I get severe pain, stiffness, and pressure in my arms. Internet says it's a pinched nerve. It goes away after a few seconds. Never told a doctor about it, even though it's been happening since I was a kid. Random twitchy muscles. Often enough to notice that it happens, yet infrequent enough not to be of any concern. Muscle spasms. Totally normal. You probably aren't eating enough potassium, drinking enough water, or getting enough sleep. I get sharp pains in my asshole every now and then. It feels like a lightning bolt for about 2 seconds once every 2 months. Using the poop knife wrong, clearly. Proctalgia fugax. It's basically a muscle spasm. Not harmful, just incredibly painful for a few seconds. Is it just a coincidence that this matches so well with your name? Same, but it happens like once a month, and lasts like 20 minutes. The pain is absolutely terrible, like someone stabbing you up in the butt, and 80% of the time it comes I happen to be sleeping. Just about every time I step outside on a bright day I have to sneeze. This is apparently a genetic condition that is frequently found in humans with high Neanderthal DNA. Every single time I swallow, my ears pop. Wait, this isn't normal? Me too, I thought that was just supposed to happen. My stomach hurts between breakfast and lunch almost every day, because I'm hungry I guess, and hurts worse after I eat. It's a sharp pain that goes away if I lay completely flat on the ground. I've resorted to laying down in a few public bathrooms before. Happening since 4th grade, I'm going to college now. You need to get this looked at now. It could be an ulcer. It could be a food intolerance. I go blind when I stand up too fast but for like 5 seconds. I used to get this all the time. I believe it's most common among teens who have just had or are in a large growth spurt as the nervous system isn't quite built for the newfound height yet. Every once in a while holding a stack of books or a box or similar shaped stuff where the tips of my fingers bent but the rest was straight, my fingers would lock in place so I'd have to move my arms and hands in a specific way to unlock them and move my fingers properly. Have you noticed a lump on your wrist? Mine used to do this and it turns out I had a ganglion cyst. I feel the need to close my eyes very tight about once every 5 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't make me look like a complete psycho. It does. I knew an ADHD kid that did the same thing. This sounds like a motor tic. Motor Tourette's, I have the same thing, but I rapidly blink and clench my eyes shut like constantly. As well as raising and lowering my eyebrows. So yeah, great fun. I get brain snaps. It feels like when you pop a knuckle in your finger. It does not hurt at all, but the same exact sensation, but like in my brain. So writing this down, I never really told anyone this seems like I should get it checked out. Random waves of sadness. When I'm laying down my legs feel weird and I feel the urge to contract my muscles or IDK just rip them the fuck off. They don't hurt if anything, they just feel weird. Also I get all kinds of weird feelings, twitches on my brain that are hard to describe. Sounds like you may be experiencing restlessness leg syndrome. Restless leg syndrome. I get this too. Magnesium is supposed to help but I've never tried it. I can't burp. I just get this weird gurgly sound as air bubbles come up through my throat if gas comes up that way. I can rip some mean ass though. No burp. My friend has this issue. So much so that it affects her everyday life. She went to Chicago and saw DR who gave her Botox in her throat. Now she can burp and has to practice burping so that her brain learns the muscle memory. It has positively changed her life so far. I get these shivers across my spine every once in a while. Sometimes they come from a change in temperature, but usually it's if a car comes a little close or someone passes too close behind me. My best guess is a slight adrenaline release. Well, I don't think it's really a problem worth getting worried over, But it's something that I always thought wasn't really normal. I get this really weird feeling in my brain sometimes that's incredibly hard to describe, which is honestly why I've never talked to anyone about it. It's like a brain shiver? Like when you get the chills, but it's only happening inside your skull and not the rest of your body. There's also a weird almost squeaky sound in my ears when it happens too. When I was little, I used to think it was my brain getting another wrinkle cause I learned something that made me smart. LMAO. Edit. To clarify, there's no physical sensation that happens, no goosebumps or anything like that. Chills are just the closest thing I could think of to compare it to. It's literally just a quick feeling in the middle of my brain that doesn't travel down my body or anything like that. Just a second or two and then it's over. Sound a bit like a symptom of SSRI withdrawal. Sometimes, the inability to tell the difference between being nauseated and hungry. That's not abnormal. The nausea is likely the result of a dip in your blood sugar. My body doesn't let me know when I need to pee until it hurts. Like I could go a whole day without peeing and then wake up the next morning with intense stomach cramps that go away after a solid 5-minute pee. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, have I peed today? Well, you never know, and I sit down to discover that my bladder was full. Not going to lie, that actually sounds amazing. Sometimes I'll feel like I really need to pee and then I'll pee one molecule. When I cough, a spot in the middle of my back itches like mad. Also, once every few months I'll turn my head a certain way and it feels like something snaps in my head and a sensation of warmth spreads out in my skull. Probably not a tumor. Oh, I get the warmth thing. At least I'm not the only one. The head snapping warm neck thing happens to me too. And I believe it's that you turn your head too fast and punch a nerve. But it feels super weird. When I stare at something for too long, everything goes dark. You oversaturate your retina. It's like going inside from a bright outside. But when you stare, you aren't blinking and the light takes over. Blink more. I yawn all day no matter how much sleep I get. I am otherwise very healthy, except lots of stress and trauma. Woohoo. My stomach makes so much noise. Hungry? Full? Doesn't matter, just weird audible squeaky whistle. I gurgle noises all of the time. Like there have been times when my husband is across the room and he can hear my weird tummy talking. I also am very irregular and get horrible stomach cramps, dizziness, heart palpitations, and get overheated almost every time I go to the bathroom. This, however, is a bigger problem and I have a doctor's appointment next week.